Dr. Rachel Bennett didn't believe in coincidences. As an astrophysicist at the Stellar Research Institute, she knew that even the most random-seeming events in the universe followed patterns. But nothing in her years of studying celestial phenomena could explain the peculiar lights that had been appearing in her backyard for the past week. She stood at her kitchen window, coffee growing cold in her hands as she watched the pre-dawn sky. The lights had started as brief flickers, like camera flashes in the distance. But they'd grown more frequent, more organized, forming geometric patterns that defied explanation. A knock at her door startled her from her observations. Rachel wasn't expecting anyone, especially not at 5:30 a.m. She opened the door to find a tall, striking man with unusual silver-white hair and eyes so dark they seemed to reflect the stars themselves. "Dr. Bennett," he said, his voice carrying an accent she couldn't place. "I'm Cale Nixis. I've recently moved into the house next door, and I believe we need to talk about your research on quantum entanglement in stellar phenomena." Rachel's hand tightened on the doorframe. Her latest research wasn't public knowledge, it wasn't even published yet. "How do you know about that?" "Because," he said, his eyes shifting to an impossible violet hue, "I've traveled across 12 galaxies to find someone who could understand what's coming." "May I come in?" Rachel's scientific mind warred with her instincts. Everything about this man screamed danger, yet her curiosity burned stronger than her fear. She stepped aside. Cale moved with an otherworldly grace as he entered her home. In the artificial light, his skin had a subtle iridescent quality, like mother of pearl. "I apologize for the dramatic entrance," he said, "but time is running short. Your work on quantum-entangled stars isn't just groundbreaking, Dr. Bennett. It's the key to saving both our worlds." "Our worlds?" Rachel's voice caught. "You're not human." "No." Cale's form shimmed slightly, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. "I'm from a planet called Lumaria, in what you would call the Andromeda Galaxy. We're facing a threat that could destroy both our civilizations, and your research might be our only hope." Rachel should have been terrified. She should have called the authorities or run. Instead, she found herself asking, what kind of threat? "We call them the Void Hunters. They're ancient beings that feed on stellar energy. They've already consumed hundreds of star systems, and they're moving faster than we can evacuate worlds. But your theory about quantum-linked stars creating stable energy corridors." He paused, his eyes intense. "It could be the weapon we need to stop them." "My theory is just that, a theory. I haven't even completed the mathematical models," Rachel protested. "But you will," Cale said with absolute certainty. "I've seen it. My people have limited precognitive abilities. I saw you, Dr. Bennett, standing at the heart of a quantum network that spans galaxies. I saw you finding a way to trap the Void Hunters between entangled stars." Rachel sank into a chair, her mind racing. "The lights in my backyard. My attempts to calibrate our communication frequencies to Earth technology. I needed to be certain you were ready before I approached you." "Ready for what?" Cale knelt before her, his proximity sending strange tingles across her skin. "Ready to help me save the universe. But I must warn you, accepting this mission will change everything. The Void Hunters have agents everywhere, even on Earth. Once we begin, there's no going back." Rachel looked into his alien eyes and saw not just stars, but entire galaxies swirling in their depths. Her whole life had been spent searching the skies for answers, and now those answers were literally kneeling at her feet. The rational part of her mind screamed that this was insane, impossible. But her heart, the part that had first fallen in love with the cosmos as a child, knew her answer. "Tell me everything," she said. Cale's relief was palpable. "There's something else you should know," he said, his voice softening. "The reason I saw you specifically in my visions. There's a connection between us, one that transcends normal space-time. On my world, we call it the astral bond. It's rare, almost mythical, a quantum entanglement of souls. Rachel felt her pulse quicken. What does that mean? It means, he said, reaching out to touch her hand, sending sparks of starlight dancing across her skin, that together, we might be more powerful than either of us could be alone. But it also means our enemies will stop at nothing to either control us or destroy us. Outside, the first rays of dawn painted the sky in shades of rose and gold. Rachel knew that after this moment, her life would never be the same. She was about to step into a war that spanned galaxies, with an alien man who claimed their souls were quantum entangled, against enemies that devoured stars. And somehow, incredibly, it felt like coming home. The Stellar Research Institute's quantum lab hummed with energy as Rachel calibrated the experimental array. 3 weeks had passed since Kale's revelation, and they'd been working non-stop to convert her theoretical models into reality. But tonight was different. Tonight, they would attempt their first quantum link between Earth and Lamaria. The containment field is stable, Kale said, his fingers dancing over the holographic controls he'd integrated into her equipment. In the blue glow of the quantum chamber, his true form flickered through more often, moments when his human disguise wavered, revealing swirling patterns of light beneath his skin. Rachel tried to focus on the readings, but her awareness of him had grown stronger each day. The astral bond he described wasn't just emotional, it was physical, like a thread of starlight connecting them. When he moved, she felt it. When he was troubled, her own thoughts darkened. Energy levels at 80%, she reported, pushing personal feelings aside. Quantum coherence holding steady. A warning light flashed on her console. We're getting some unusual interference, she frowned, adjusting the settings. Something's disrupting the dash. The lab doors burst open. 3 figures in black tactical gear stormed in, weapons raised. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural red light. Step away from the equipment, the leader commanded, his voice distorted and inhuman. The quantum link ends now. Kale moved with impossible speed, placing himself between Rachel and the intruders. Void Hunter proxies, he growled. They're using human hosts. Rachel's mind raced. The quantum array was still powering up, its energy building toward the critical threshold needed for interstellar communication. If they shut it down now, weeks of work would be lost. But if they let it continue. You can't stop this, she called out, her hand hovering over the emergency protocols. The link is already forming. The leader laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Brave words, Dr. Bennett. But we've been watching you both. Did your alien friend tell you what really happens when a quantum link spans galaxies? The power it releases? Power we can use to feed our masters. Rachel awakened to the sound of singing crystals. The Lemurian Quantum Control Center pulsed with emergency lights as Rachel and Kale raced against time. Their combined consciousness flowed through the city's systems, reconfiguring the planetary grid to serve as a massive quantum trap. But with each passing moment, more Void Hunter ships emerged from the darkness between stars. The modifications are at 70%, Rachel reported, her hands moving in perfect sync with Kale's across the crystalline controls. Through their enhanced bond, she felt the strain in the planet's power systems, and in their own connected minds. We're losing the outer defense grid, a Lemurian officer announced. 3 more Hunter ships have breached the atmosphere. Rachel felt Kale's fierce determination through their link. But underneath lay a current of fear, not for himself, but for her. The quantum modifications were taking a toll on their bodies. Each surge of power left them weaker, their combined consciousness flickering like a dying star. A massive explosion rocked the control center. Through the quantum network, Rachel felt thousands of minds cry out as a section of the city fell to the Hunter's attack. The loss of life hit her with physical force, dropping her to her knees. Rachel. Kale caught her, their shared pain echoing between them. We need to activate the trap now. We can't wait for full coverage. If we trigger it too soon, they'll detect the pattern. We'll lose our only chance. Rachel forced herself up, drawing strength from their bond. But as she turned back to the controls, a new presence entered her quantum-enhanced awareness. The quantum chaos reached its crescendo as reality fractured and reformed around them. Rachel and Kale's consciousness stretched across dimensions, their bond the only constant in a universe gone mad. The Void Hunters' screams echoed through subspace as they were caught in the turbulence of a billion chaotic connections. Through their fragmenting bond, Rachel witnessed the impossible. The Hunters, beings of ancient power, were being torn apart by the very force they'd sought to control. Human chaos multiplied by Lemurian precision had created a quantum storm that even they couldn't consume. The first Hunter's form dissolved into threads of dark energy, its last words burning into their shared mind: "What you've created, it cannot be controlled." "It's not meant to be controlled," Rachel thought back, feeling Kale's agreement resonate through their connection. "That's what you never understood about humans. We thrive in chaos." The quantum overload reached critical mass. Rachel felt their bond stretching to its breaking point as the power surge threatened to tear them apart. Through the haze of pain, she sensed Kale's desperate attempt to protect her, to channel the destructive energy away from her consciousness. "Don't," she commanded through their link. "Together. All the way." Their minds merged completely one final time, sharing everything they were, everything they could have been. In that eternal moment, Rachel understood that their bond transcended the quantum mechanics that had created it. What they shared wasn't just physics, it was something older than the stars themselves. The wave of chaos reached its peak, and their combined consciousness exploded outward. Rachel felt herself flying apart, scattering across dimensions. The last thing she felt was Kale's presence, his love wrapping around her like a shield as everything went white. Silence. Then. Rachel. She opened her eyes to find herself lying on grass that sparkled with quantum residue. Above her, Lemuria's twin suns painted the sky in impossible colors. Kale knelt beside her, his true form shimmering with renewed energy. "Did we?" She tried to speak, but her voice was rough from screaming. "Look," he said softly, helping her sit up. The city had been transformed. Where crystal spires once reached for the sky, new structures had grown, hybrid architectures that combined Lemurian precision with organic, almost chaotic human elements. The quantum grid pulsed with a new kind of power, neither purely ordered or purely random. But most remarkably, the space between stars had changed. Where the void had once been empty and cold, now it sparkled with countless quantum connections, a web of light linking everything to everything else. "The Hunters?" Rachel asked, testing their bond. It was different now, no longer visible, but somehow stronger, more fundamental. "Gone," Kale confirmed. The quantum chaos destroyed their ability to feed on connections. But it did something else too. He helped her stand, and Rachel gasped as she fully absorbed their surroundings. Lemurians moved through the streets below, their natural energy patterns altered by exposure to human chaos. And among them walked humans, the first wave of refugees they'd evacuated from Earth before the battle, their own quantum signatures now carrying traces of Lemurian precision. The chaos didn't just destroy, Rachel understood. It created something new. A bridge between our species. Kale nodded, drawing her close. The first hunter was right about one thing: humans do have an unprecedented capacity for bonding. But it never understood why. Your chaos isn't a weakness to be exploited. It's the force that brings new things into existence. Rachel felt the truth of it in their transformed bond. What they shared now wasn't just a quantum connection between two individuals. It was a prototype for something greater, a new kind of relationship between species, between order and chaos, between all the forces that made up reality. "There will be more challenges," she said, watching the changed cosmos spark with possibility. "More threats, more chaos." "Good," Kale smiled, his stellar eyes reflecting the quantum web that now linked their worlds. "Chaos is what makes the universe grow." Rachel leaned into him, feeling their bond pulse with shared purpose. Above them, the space between stars glittered with newfound connections, proof that even the darkest void could be filled with light if you knew how to embrace the chaos. The universe had changed, and they had changed with it. But some things, like the power of connection, the strength found in differences, and the love that transcended physical laws, those remained constant as the stars themselves. Together, they turned toward their transformed future, ready to explore whatever wonders waited beyond the known, in the beautiful chaos they had created.